Hi students, welcome to Career 360. What we're going to show now is in two parts, two videos that we're going to do. The first video will talk of what kind of score would get you, what kind of percentile and what kind of rank. Right. In the second part, we'll also talk about what kind of rank will get you into which NIT, which IIIT and which of the CFTIs which participate to the JOSA counseling. Let's talk about the first part of it, which is what kind of score will get you what rank and how it differed as compared to what happened in 2024. Right. And at that rank, what percentile, what kind of rank. So we're talking about the score versus percentile versus rank is what we're going to discuss in the first video. Right. Let me take you through data at this point in time. First of all, what's the kind of data that we have? We have data which essentially says in the current year, we actually had 13.11 lakh students who registered for the examination and about 12.58 lakh students who took the examination. Last year in the Jan session, about 11.7 lakh students took the examination. Right. Now, if we were to project this properly, you're likely to get about 14 to 14.5 lakh students taking the examination in entirety because you also have the April session that is in waiting for you. Every data point that we've taken here from now on is projecting it based on a total number of students who actually took the examination JEE Main 2025, which is about 14 to 14.5 lakh. That's the candidate range that we've taken for all our projection from here on. Right? Because you actually saw about 7-8% jump and we just need to deal with it from that perspective. Right? Now when we look at that data, right, as I said, last year we actually had 14.15 lakh students who took the examination. So we're taking it as about 14 to 14.5 lakh and projecting it from there. Last year for the JEE Advanced cutoff, 93.23 percentile is what was needed, right? And before that it was 90 percentile, 88 percentile and 87.89 percentile for general category. For EWS it was 18.32, for OBC it was 79.67, for SC it was 60 percentile and for ST it was 47 percentile. Right. So we are essentially dealing with about, if you're getting about 93 percentile and above, you have a decent chance of being qualifying for the JEE Advanced. That is only for the advanced. That's for people who want to get into IITs. Now the other part of it is, you all know that JEE Main also is used as the score for you to get into NITs, IIITs and the JOSA counseling, about 40-50 institutions that participate through the JOSA counseling. We're going to talk of that also. First of all, how did the ranks and score behave? Remember, about 15 days back, we did a video which essentially talked of how the score this time would fall because the optional questions that you have in the JEE Main 2024 is no longer there, which essentially means that you have to attempt all the questions. You did not have the optionals, and because of that, we predicted that the score will fall this time around. It exactly happened the way we predicted. Look at it this way, right? In Jan 2024, the highest score was 236. This time, the highest score is 200. In Jan 2024, if you look at it session-wise also, in day one, the scores was 236 for 99 percentile. We are now talking about what got you a 99 percentiles so that we can actually understand the difficulty level of the paper and how the students performed. Now, based on the optionals that you have, the choices that you had, students did far better. On day one, you had 236 and 211, whereas this year in 25 it is 158 and 186. So in both the sessions, you actually fell. On day two, it was 202 last year and 212, and this time it is 178 and 187. In day three, it is 193 and 191. In here, it's 181 and only here it went up to 200. In day four, you had 170 and 151, and here it's 148 and 171. In day 5, it is 161 and 172. Here it is 174. So here there is a greater correlation in the scores that you had. Whereas here in 24, you had 236 as the highest and 151 as the lowest, which essentially said 85 marks difference. This is huge, and this was questioned also of how can there be such a variance, and that has been reduced now, and across the board, but for a couple of sessions, you actually see that the overall scores have come down. What is 236 highest last time is now 200 this time. That's a decent fall because that's what will happen when you remove the optional questions that you have. So it exactly happened the way we predicted, and the same thing will happen for NEET also if you're looking at it as a NEET examination, because when you remove the optional questions, this is bound to happen. Now the second part of it. How did the scores behave this time around? We looked at all the data that came to us through the kind of data that our students themselves gave it to us, right? We have a lot of students, you know, who visit careers360.com, and they have passed on the scores and percentiles that they have, and we're now putting it perspective in terms of the score and percentile that they had, so that we can give you a trend analysis. When we look at that data, we actually have for 99.9 percentile, right? The morning shift was 224, evening shift was 243, 236, 253, 239, 260, and so on and so forth. You essentially are dealing with between 214 on the 28th morning shift to about 253, right, in the 23rd Jan evening shift. So very clearly it shows that this was the most difficult. The 28th morning paper was the most difficult. If you see the scores here, 183, 169, 155, 148. So this seems to be the most difficult paper. So you see the 24th evening paper was the easiest, because 260 was the highest score, and on 28th morning paper was the most difficult paper that you have. And this seems to be a trend across the board, that, you know, here if you look at the 24th evening, at 99 percentile, 0.9 percentile it is 260 marks, at 99.7 it was 234, at 221 was at 99.5. They've got 200 at 99 percentile here. Now if you look at it on a different scale, here at 214 you get 99.9 percentile, 99.7 was 183. So just look at this comparison between these two, right? But having said that, you very clearly know now that the range, the delta between the highest and the lowest across all the things was slightly more closer this time around than what you have for last year when you look at the 99 percentile score. Now to the next level, right? We also took it to the beyond 99 percentile also at 98.5 percentile, right? Because to be fair, you have a chance to get into one of the NITs, one of the triple ITs, or one of the CFTs till about 98, 97.5 percentile. So we took it up to that point. We took it up to the about 45,000-50,000 rank, so that even if you don't get your, you know, CSE kind of a branch, you'll still get into one of the branches. Some of you might want to study at NITs or triple ITs and all, and there's still a possibility about it, and which is what we are going to explain here, right? Now, when you look at that at 98.5 percentile, the same shifts, you'll see that, you know, this slightly the most easiest one, and this is the most difficult one, because at 109 you're getting 96.5 percentile, at 98 percentile was 127. Here you don't get a chance because of the easiness of the paper, that it's 186, 177, 168, 162 and 156. And what you got at 96.5 percentile for 156 marks on the 24th Jan evening session, in the 20th thing at 98.5% also you get 136 marks only. So 156 and 136. In fact, if you go to the earlier slide and I'll show you, you got 156 on 25th, 96.5 percentile. Now look at this data here. The same thing at 156 you likely to get 99.2 percentile here, right? So that is what is happening here. So now let's talk of the kind of rank that you get, right? What we've done for this rank percentage is we've taken a data point where we said ki, let it be 14 lakh and the range is between 13.5 lakh and 14.5 lakh rank. So whenever we talk of this range, we're talking of 50,000 minus or 50,000 plus from a 14 lakh kind of a number. When we look at that data and, you know, map it to the percentile, if you are getting 99.9 percentile, your rank is between 1330 to 1470, right? At 99 percentile, right, your rank is between 13,300 to 14,700, and so on and so forth. We actually created a expected rank sheet for you based on 14 lakh total students between 13.5 and 14.5 being the range that we gave you. So everything is a percentile based on that. So essentially what we have at this point in time is that if you're getting about 97 percentile, your rank will be between 39,900 to 44,100 or 40,000 to 44,000, right? And if you get a rank of 98 percentile, your rank would be between 26,600 to 29,400. And if you get 99 percentile, your rank will be between 13,300 to 14,700. And if you get 99.9 percentile, your rank will be between 1330 to 1470. Now, based on this, you also know the kind of cutoffs that colleges have across NITs, triple ITs and all the CFTs that participate through the JOSA counseling. These are the kind of ranks that you have that you can be expecting between, if the total student participating is about 14 lakh plus or minus 50,000. The ranks I have already explained to you. Now what we'll do very soon is come up with a video of, at these ranks, what kind of institutions that you can expect to get into for admission across all the NITs, all the triple ITs, and all the CFTS that participate through the JOSA counseling. And that will be another video that we'll be shooting very soon, and I'll send it over to you. Thank you so much.